notes before we get started. This is being recorded, so we will be able to use it and post it afterwards. Hi, Penny. So if you have questions about something that you saw and you didn't quite get it the first time, you'll be able to go back and watch the recording, and as soon as that is ready and posted, we'll be getting in touch with everyone. And also it would be available for anybody that couldn't attend today, which is great. The next thing is I will continue to monitor, but if you go through the presentation, it's best if only one person's microphone is on. Otherwise, there's a lot of feedback for everyone else. So right now, I think I've muted everybody's microphone. But if we call out to you, you just need to do that during the presentation. Otherwise, there's just a lot of feedback. If you do have a question, I would suggest either writing it down if you think it can wait, or typing it in the chat, and either Carolyn or I will see it and try to make sure it gets addressed right away. During the presentation, I'm going to make Carolyn the presenter, so you'll be able to see her screen and the things she's going to share, and not everybody's webcams. So you'll be able to see Carolyn during the presentation and her screen only. So don't freak out and think that your computer stopped working for some reason. And then when we have the Q&A, I'll turn the webcams back on. If you choose to be viewed virtually, then you will be back on. And I just wanted to say thank you to the Western Loudon Artists and Studio Tour for co-sponsoring this presentation with the Friends of Franklin Park Art Center. With that, I'm going to work some magic here. And hold on, let me change it to who's talking. And Carolyn, you are now the presenter.
Okay, so I think I've shared my screen here, and there we go. So just a quick kind of rundown of what my goals are for today. And really it's to just open up the conversation. We're going to be discussing online selling platforms. I think that having all of our brick and mortar locations, our galleries, all our shows, spring, summer, art shows and festivals and fairs, either canceled, put on hold indefinitely. We're all thinking about how to push what we do more into a digital selling space. So I wanted to take this first session and discuss what the different selling platforms are, an introduction to them, how they differ, what questions you should be asking. There are a million different platforms and methodologies out there. I'm not an expert on all of them. So what I wanted to do was share my experience in jumping into online sales and online selling platforms and what I've learned. And mostly what that is what the right questions are to ask so that you can evaluate each of these options and all the options out there for yourselves, for your artwork, for your business, and see kind of which one fits best. So who am I? I'm Carolyn Cutshall. My family owns Hunt Country Jewelers. My specialty in the jewelry world, even though what they do is all handmade, I do the estate jewelry side of things. So I have the Cozy Fox estate jewelry as well, and that is the entity that has our highest online presence at the moment and our highest online activity at the moment. because I test everything out with the lower price point estate items before I jump hunt country into things. So I actually use it as a little bit of A/B testing and then move our higher end items into those same spaces. And I am this year grateful to be on the WLAST planning committee again. So that's how I've known Elizabeth for many years, but that's our current kind of collaboration on things, and I'm very grateful for it. So quick question, and we can just throw into the chat here. How many of you are actually selling online now in any capacity at all? Do we have anybody who's currently selling online in any sort of capacity? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so we're gonna start pretty much from the bottom up then. I kind of went over this a little bit. We're gonna talk about different types of online selling platforms. We're gonna talk about the pros and cons of some popular platforms that you have heard of. And we're gonna talk about things you didn't know you need to think about. You know, when you jump in feet first into the deep end, what do you need to look at in the contracts? What is the terminology you need to understand so that you can evaluate all of these different options properly? So here are the two types of online selling platforms. You have your own website. See if I can get fancy here. You have your own website and you have everything else. These are the two different types of selling platforms. Your own website. This is a URL that you own. I own huntcountryjewelers.com or huntcountry.com, and I own thecozyfox.com. I own several others, but those are my two active sites right now, and I own them. These are put on a host. So the host can be GoDaddy, it can be you know, any of your website hosting companies. I'm hosted on GoDaddy for all of my sites right now. Then you have a content interface. This is how you operate your website in the back end, the back door of your website. So it's Wix or Squarespace or Shopify. It's the platform that builds and allows you to create content. I have one site on GoDaddy's builder, and I have one site on WordPress, and they have pros and cons. You do your own credit card processing when you're on your own website, and you have to worry about your own security certificates for your credit card processing and your consumer information. Everything else is Etsy, eBay, Facebook Shop, Instagram Shop, your Shopify platforms, Pattern, which is Etsy's version of your own website. It is Amazon Handmade. It's all of them. That is everything else. You don't own any of that. You have an account with them. And they use language and terminology that makes you think you own a piece of that. Your Etsy store, my Square shop, my eBay store, but they're not yours. They belong to those entities. And there are specific integrations for each and every one. So you will have different policies, different payment processing options, different shipping options, different fees for each of those individual sites. So those are the two types of online selling platforms that we have. So let's start with your own website. Okay, you go out and you buy bestartistever.com. Okay, so you have the picture here is my Cozy Fox. This is hosted on GoDaddy. It is also in GoDaddy's builder, which I found to be super easy to use. So again, I'm gonna say it one more time, you own it. And we're gonna keep coming back to this idea. I am of the personal opinion that everyone in business, artists, small businesses, everyone ought to have a website that they own. Whatever URL you like and you can get, but you ought to own a piece of the internet that's yours, that you get to dictate the policies, you get to dictate the fees, you get to decide about your payment processing, your branding, your content. These are all the decisions. You can look at it two ways. These are the decisions you have to make on your own website, or these are the decisions you get to make on your own website, because if you don't make them, the other platforms will make them for you. And what if you don't like them? So those are the pros. It's all yours, and the possibilities are endless. Here are the cons to having your own site as your only selling platform. Maintenance. You do have to keep on top of things like, hey, I have to pay for hosting for another year, or this plugin needs to be updated. Marketing. You have to drive people to your own website through all of your marketing options, not just advertising, although that's a big one. All of your promotional materials, your press, everything needs to drive people to your website. You don't have the power of Etsy driving people to your shop. It's just you working on it. And tech savviness. There are a lot of interfaces out there like Wix, like Shopify, like GoDaddy, that have really easy templates and step-by-step instructions. But if you want to stray out of those kind of already put together templates and functionalities, you're going to have some savviness in applications and stringing different pieces of technology together, plugins, stuff like that. I personally feel like I walk a line somewhere in the middle. My GoDaddy site, which you see here for Cozy Fox, this is just their standard thing. I didn't do anything but upload my photos and type in the content, choose the colors. It's all I needed for this. Our Hunt Country site, which I don't have a picture of though, that is a totally from the ground up, custom WordPress WooCommerce site, because I needed more functionality. It's a much bigger site. It allows me to work with clients on custom pieces. I build your own pieces on there. All our marketing is done through there. It's just a much bigger enterprise. And I do manage that one as well. But if that site needed any serious work or maintenance, I'd have to call in my website girl. Like I can't troubleshoot if something really goes wrong on that site, but I can maintain it. So there's you kind of have to figure out where you want to be functionality wise and where you're comfortable with the actual skills. I will say that I started out knowing absolutely nothing. I never took a class in this. I think you have to be willing to explore. You have to jump in, start an account, play around with it, try it. Don't publish it anywhere until you like how it looks. Everything else. So that's that's your own site. Now everything else. This is my Cozy Fox Etsy site, just so you can see, this is my own website, and this is my Etsy shop for Cozy Fox. Pros for everything else. The marketing, they're going to take care of a lot of the marketing for you, or they're going to give you very easy options for marketing, like, hey, I want to spend $1 a day and I want to promote these listings, and then they'll take care of it for you. Ease of use, it's pretty much plug and play for all of these. They all have their own little quirks, but you should be able to follow the prompts and get a store open and some listings up in really short order. Cons, you don't own it. Etsy can decide at any time, for example, that you don't qualify for a shop, that you're not following the terms of service. You could have one crazy low review and they take it too seriously. and then they will shut your shop down, and they will block your personal IP address from ever having another shop. So this is a space that you might be able to make really excellent sales on. I do, but I don't own it. So if Etsy went bottom up tomorrow, or if they decided they didn't like what I was doing in my shop, they could shut it down. And then if I have built my entire following to my Etsy store, I have that gone if at Etsy's whim. And it's going to be the same for everybody else's. Facebook is famous for simply shutting down groups, putting people in Facebook jail. You've got eBay jail. If you know, all sorts of different, you know, oh no, your account's on hold because we need to check this thing out. And you don't have any of that with your own website. Another con, fees. With your own website, you're going to pay your credit card processing and your hosting and things, and that's it. With any of these platforms, they are going to take a cut of your sales. That's how they stay in business. That's how they market your products, and they're all going to have different fees. Etsy works out to be somewhere between 10 and 12%. eBay, again, 10 and 12%. Facebook is only about 5%. There are some other apps and things like Poshmark. People who make wearable art, fiber art might want to start a Poshmark closet. They take 20%. So it is, you know, it's up to you the level of fee that you're comfortable with, but you have to get in there and see what they are for all your different options. And your integrations. Some of them are going to work with credit card processing you already have set up. I am guessing that a lot of us have Square because we can take it with us to shows, or that a lot of us have PayPal. Some of these will work better than others with those platforms and those credit card processing options. So you have to look at what you already have in place or what you'd like to have in place and how it integrates with what you're hoping to build. So this is what I've just started saying. So you have your own site up here in the right-hand corner. And it's on a host or a platform. Now, you have to evaluate, does it talk to Facebook and Instagram? Now, I have put Facebook and Instagram in the same bubble over here because they are the same company. Facebook and it owns Instagram. So you can operate both a Facebook and an Instagram account and a business account and a selling store and all of that in one. Like, those two integrate with each other perfectly. You have Pinterest, you have Etsy, you have eBay, which owns PayPal. You've got Amazon Handmade. So a couple of these, Etsy, Pinterest, Amazon, they're their own things. eBay and PayPal are together. Facebook, Instagram are together. So to show you an example, I've mapped out the Cozy Fox and what my online presence is. So in the left-hand corner, I have my own website, thecozyfox.com. I am hosted, and I used my builder platform on GoDaddy. GoDaddy integrates, their integrations are Etsy and eBay. And Etsy, inside the Etsy platform, they will also manage shoppable Google results. So all from the listing I make on my website, I get an Etsy listing, an eBay listing, and a shoppable Google post or result. So that's, you know, all one integration. I also use Square in the green bubble. That's my main payment processing. I use that in my physical location, 105 East Main Street, and it integrates with GoDaddy. So that is my payment processing for my website, my eBay store, and my physical location. Etsy handles their own payment processing. They do integrate with Square, and we can talk about that in more detail if anybody's interested in it, but it's not actually something I recommend. So Etsy pays directly into the Star, which is my bank. Square pays directly into my bank. And then way over on the other side, Facebook and Instagram pay directly into my bank. They manage their own payments. And that, Facebook and Instagram, doesn't integrate with anything else I do. So I've just started to get my estate pieces up into the Facebook and Instagram space. So that is relatively new for me, but it's a complete duplication. It doesn't integrate with anything else I'm doing so far. So I'm gonna try it and see how it goes. And if it ends up being too much work and not enough sales, I'll let it go. And I think that really is the crux kind of experimenting with this, is that you have to be willing to jump in and just try it. So let's take a quick break there and a call for any questions about the idea. We can talk once we get into, just open discussion, we'll talk individual platforms or specific questions, but does anybody have anything kind of specific to the actual kind of mapping or division of selling platforms? We're all doing pretty okay here. So Facebook and Instagram integrating with PayPal. It's my understanding that Facebook and Instagram, or that entity that is both of them, is doing their own payment processing, because you put your bank account information in to their system when you create the shop, and it deposits directly into your bank. You can, with those, direct people off of Facebook to your site or to your Etsy to purchase. If you want them to go with PayPal, you can tell them to claim it and you'll send them a PayPal invoice. So there are workarounds, but I don't believe that there's simply a PayPal button for Facebook. I'm still exploring that a little bit. Now, eBay and PayPal are the same, but I don't like PayPal. I don't have one. So I actually do, when someone purchases something on eBay, I send them a Square invoice and they pay my invoice rather than going through, a buy it now, one-click PayPal purchase. There are, again, pros and cons to that. But yeah, you can figure out a way to make it work if that's the way you want to do it. Okay, so let's go. Things you didn't know you had to think about. You have to think about fees, and you really have to get down into the nitty-gritty of the contracts of each of the platforms that you're looking at, because you will have credit card fees, listing fees, probably a percentage of the sale fee. Are you going to do any marketing? Is the marketing done on a percentage of sales from marketing? Is it done by click? Is it done by view? We want to look at those marketing costs. How much is your hosting? Penny, I don't like PayPal because I feel that they take too much arbitrary control over my money, and they can decide to hold it and not deposit it, or not verify my bank account, or give me limits on how much I can transfer around. Dispute-wise, I think they're difficult to deal with. I like Square, and I either want you to put the money directly into my bank account, or I want you to give it to Square to put into my bank account. It's my personal feeling on it. Other people have, like Dora says, other people have very different experiences with PayPal. I do tend to work in higher, sometimes higher value, dollar value transactions. So PayPal is a little probably more cautious with some of our transactions than others who don't deal in, 6 and 7 figure transactions all the time. You have to think about shipping. If you're going to sell online, shipping is a fact of life. So we have to think about shipping cost. Are you going to build that into the cost and offer free shipping? Free in quotes. Are you going to ask people to choose the speed at which they want to ship and then pay for it? How are you going to package your items? And you have to build that cost in. If you've done mostly in-person sales, gallery sales, that kind of thing, you might have some packaging, but if you're going to ship, you really have to decide how you're going to package things. You have to think about accepting credit cards and what the fees are associated with that. And you have to think about returns. Most of the platforms will allow you to set some measure of your own return policies. Facebook says you have to accept returns within 30 days. eBay says 14 minimum. And Etsy, you can say you don't accept returns, but when the rubber meets the road, all of them, plus the credit card processing, is pretty much going to demand that you have some sort of return window. Most credit cards will side with a consumer on a return within 14 days. So you have to think about returns, how you want to handle them. They going to pay shipping? Are you going to pay shipping? Was it insured on the way out? Does it need to be insured on the way back? So you do have to think about those and see what your different platforms mandate for you. You have to think about photos. If we're going to sell online, then photography becomes incredibly important. Whether you are taking your own photos or you're having someone else take them for you. I have found I use the same photos across all my platforms. And I will either crop them appropriately or just say, I don't care that, this is a square and some of these turn out rectangular, and, I want to use the same photo across the board because that's just easier for me for products. So I don't try and tailor them to say, oh, eBay consumers really like this background and this and this and this, and Etsy consumers really like X, Y, and Z. Now, I take nice photos that I like that are up to current best practices in general, and I post them everywhere. They probably should be resized. They probably need to be at least photoshopped a little bit. Do you want to watermark them? Do you not want to watermark them? Is your lighting okay? All of those things. We have to think about fraud. If we're going to sell online, we have to think about fraud. It's an unfortunate reality. I have been very lucky to not encounter too much of it. I think the vast majority of us won't encounter anything too crazy, but you also have to be on the lookout for it. So I had an Etsy sale this month that the conversation just raised my red flags. And, I had no conversation prior, but the package is supposed to be delivered on a Tuesday. She orders it Saturday morning. I have it to the post office before noon on Saturday. So same day shipping. Monday, I get a message and the whole message says, item not received. Well, it's not even supposed to be delivered until tomorrow. So I go to check the tracking. It has been delivered, 15 minutes prior to the message, and it was signed for by the name of the buyer. So, I'm really sorry, there's been a problem. Can you tell me, is the box damaged? Were the earrings not in there, or did it not get delivered at all because the tracking shows that it's been delivered and signed for by you? The next message I get is, well, this isn't what I was expecting. You have to send me a shipping label, and I definitely want to return them. Okay, well, I'm sorry they weren't what you were expecting. According to my shop policies, you're responsible for return shipping, but I will gladly take your return. Please let me know when they're set to arrive, and I will be happy to refund your entire purchase price as soon as they get here in the same condition in which I sent them out. I never heard anything back. She didn't send them back. So there was something there. She was trying to get me to return her money before she sent the product back. And I didn't fall for it. And I had my tracking, and I had my signature, and I had my store policies, all my ducks in a row, so that all I had to do was fall back on those things. And the item not only wasn't refunded without being returned, it actually wasn't returned at all. So you just have to be aware that this is a possibility, and make sure that you're taking steps throughout the process to protect yourself. And you have to think about an SSL, which is a security certificate for your own website if you choose to go in that direction. That's what encrypts the credit card information, the customer information, the cookies, all of those things throughout the process, so that your website is a secure way to purchase. Now, you can also put, for example, PayPal on your website, and then they do all of that SSL stuff because you're sending them off-site to pay rather than processing that right there on your website. And that's a valid way to do it as well. I'm sure there's lots of other things that you didn't know you had to think about, but those are the main ones that we don't run into necessarily when we're selling in person or selling through consignment galleries or wholesale accounts, private commissions, things like that. So that is, kind of some of the stickier points you have to think about. And I think that's the end of that. So I'm going to switch back over to being able to see everyone. And instead of looking at the chat, and let's get rid of the screen. Okay. So open for questions, comments, discussion. I don't claim to be an expert in anything. I just have self-taught over a couple of different instances across many different platforms. So happy to kind of talk it through. Was really my goal for this, was to get everybody thinking about the right things and asking the right questions so that you can go do your explorations and see what fits your medium and your lifestyle and your goals the best. But does anybody have any questions or things you'd like to get deeper into here in the last couple minutes?
Carolyn, Christine Dixon is asking, how is using Square different than PayPal?
So Square is much more like a traditional credit card processor. They don't hold or verify anything. I get funds within 24 business hours with Square. I don't have any limits on how much I can process, and they're mostly, for me, their customer service has been absolutely phenomenal. Their equipment, we have hardware in our brick and mortar. And then of course we have the mobile things, and then it has integrated to both of our websites all in the same accounts, and it lets me set up multiple locations so that I keep Cozy Fox accounting separate than Hunt Country accounting. So I just like the interface. I like the company a lot better. We've struggled with PayPal in the past. They were the only people doing that online processing for a long time. And so they have some very strict policies that give them a lot of lateral control over different things, whereas Square is much more like your very traditional merchant services that somebody swipes a card and it ends up in your bank account the next day. So I did touch on it briefly. Square does integrate with Etsy, and it is not so much as accepting payments. It is more about inventory management. So we didn't touch a lot on marketing today, because that's what we're going to do next week. Is, you know, we mentioned Facebook and Instagram as selling platforms. We're going to talk about online marketing, how to drive the traffic to your online selling platform next time. But first you have to have an online selling platform. And so Square integrates with Etsy so that if you go to an in-person selling event and you sell something that you also have listed on Etsy, it will automatically mark that out of stock for you. And you don't have to go back to Etsy. Remember to go back on Monday morning to Etsy and take out each individual listing for the products that you sold at your show over the weekend. That's a good pro. However, once you integrate those two, you also start selling Etsy fees when your listings sell. And they've gotten a lot of blowback for that, because that is not an Etsy sale, that's your own sale. So I wouldn't integrate Square with Etsy, and I would just do my inventory management another way, because I don't want to pay Etsy's selling fees if it's not being sold through their platform. So those are the kinds of things that you really have to dig into, the actual legal terminology for each of these guys and each of the features. Because people were trying it and getting very upset when they were doing, you know, their best show of the year and finding out that 10% had been sent to Etsy.
Christine also asked, does that mean that Square is not as safe?
No, Square's incredibly safe. Yeah. I think Square is very safe. Same as you can do online with authorized.net. There's BluePay. Shopify has their own system. Etsy has their own system. Facebook and Instagram do their own checkout. So that's, you can choose a lot of different options. The only reason that I really like Square for us is the brick and mortar plus the online integration, and then the customer service. And their fees are great. We're down well below PayPal's fees for Square. So that's another consideration to make. Some of that has to do with volume, and they have a couple different plans. So you just have to look at which one's going to fit. If you have a PayPal account and it's been working for you, then that does pretty much integrate with everything, because they are, you know, the OG credit card processor. So that will pretty much integrate with just about everything. And you can say that you accept PayPal on Etsy. People with PayPal accounts can use those to pay on Etsy, and it can still go through Etsy payments. I don't see why you would split that out in something like Etsy or Facebook. If they want to handle the checkout, that's great, because that means they are also handling all the sales taxes to states I don't live in and all that good stuff. On my own personal website, I have it set to calculate Virginia state tax if a Virginia shipping address is added. Otherwise, I don't deal with state tax at all. But Etsy takes care of that. Facebook's going to take care of it. eBay's going to take care of it, because they're large enough to be able to. Same with
I think that
Amazon. You
might
don't set
fall
your own
under
payment processing on Amazon.
that. The sales tax might fall under all the things, one of the things you didn't know you needed to know.
Yeah, sales tax. We probably should have put that under things you didn't think you needed to think about. Sales tax, there are breakpoints. Also, you have to do a certain amount of online sales to out-of-state addresses before you're going to be required to keep track of, collect, and file for all of those states. And that's one of the nice things about the other selling platforms, is that they do manage all of that for you. And I don't have to do that. My own sites don't do enough volume on their own for me to have to worry about that yet. So, you know, double-edged sword. I don't want to have to file sales tax with 50 states, but I would also love to be selling enough that I had to file sales tax with every state. So, so that just depends. But yeah, they'll all manage all of the taxes and fees and stuff for you. Etsy has a lot of, Etsy's where Cozy Fox is most active, other than my own site and my brick and mortar. And it has a lot of little tricks that make it really helpful. I think that as artists, Etsy is definitely one that you need to check out, because it's very much geared towards handmade and art products. I think 10 to 12% is reasonable, especially when you consider that, you know, galleries, consignment fees are often much, much higher than that. They're going to drive all that traffic to your store for 10%. That's not half bad. Same with eBay. eBay has some quirks. The audiences are different. I don't know if that's really a great place for handmade artwork. I have ruled out Amazon Handmade for Hunt Country
Excuse
because
me,
we fall
Carolyn.
under, yeah.
Lizzie had a question. I'm
Yeah.
gonna, hold on, Lizzie, let me unmute you. Okay, you should be good to go.
Okay, I missed the name of the company you said that is just 10%.
I'm sorry, Lizzie, you're cutting in and out. You missed the name of the company
That
that,
you just said that does the 10%.
oh, Etsy.
Okay, okay.
So
Thank you.
the trick with all of them is maintenance. You can't just put 10 products in your Etsy store and walk away and expect to start getting hundreds of orders. I list pretty much every week. I go in, I change my marketing, I do pay for advertising there. It does take work and maintenance, like coming to work in a brick and mortar or going to work at a show for a weekend. It is a storefront that needs interaction and it needs to be maintained. And that's going to be the case no matter what platforms you decide to use for your work. So it's not a set it and forget it proposition. Selling online is hard. It's really hard. And so it does take effort and it does take work. I think a lot of people start with Etsy. If I were going to do it all over again, and what I had was not jewelry, especially estate jewelry, which isn't handmade stuff anyway, but for the Hunt Country stuff, I would be tempted to look very first at Shopify and Etsy. And those two do integrate. Shopify is a platform and a host. So it's a hybrid, and you do run the risk that they go belly up, they declare bankruptcy, and then your site's gone, but that technically can happen with any user interface that you choose. I mean, technically, WordPress could go out of business, and then we'd really all be in trouble. But it's kind of a hybrid there. There's a monthly fee, you pay credit card fees, but it integrates with Facebook, Instagram, Etsy. You can take PayPal. They will take over, I think they said 100 other different payment processors. So I'd look there, and I'd look at Etsy for handmade art. Those are and your own site. Shopify to host your own URL. You buy a URL and they host it for you. So those are the two that I would look at if I were starting cold or if I had a different product. Amazon Handmade, I'm not on. From what I've read and the feedback that I've gotten from other artists is that it can be incredibly busy. They drive and have the power to drive so much traffic to your product. It's mind-blowing. But their fees are very high for it. At least 20%, if not more. They have, we have stayed away from it for our handmade products because for fine jewelry, anything that's gold, I don't know about silver, but for anything that's gold or platinum or that has diamonds or gemstones in it, like what we do, they want ridiculous non-refundable deposits. Everything has to be sent to Amazon fulfillment. They're going to assay all their own. They're going to send it out. It's a mess for our product. So that's not a good option for us. We looked at it, we evaluated it, we talked to somebody at Amazon, and we ruled it out. But it might be a really good option for someone who's not dealing with gold and gemstones, because you probably won't have the deposits and things that were required of us. So I don't know enough to speak about the other products, but you could look at that one as well. I don't think eBay is probably going to be a great space for a lot of what we do. I only put my estate stuff there, never my real handmade stuff. And then we'll get into, next time we'll introduce Pinterest as well. There are clickable and shoppable pins on Pinterest, but that's not the same. It's not really a selling platform. It sends it directly to your own website or your own Instagram or your own Etsy shop. So that's not really the same thing. That's more of a marketing thing rather than a selling platform.
Carolyn, Christine had typed in another question. How often do you go in to maintain and upload things in Etsy? And is Shopify geared toward fine art paintings?
I think Shopify would tell you in their literature that they are geared towards everything. The one real downside that I found over there, and I don't have a Shopify site, but I did quite a bit of reading up on it. One of my colleagues has one, and I asked, I kind of got into it with him to find out what the skinny on Shopify was. They have a lot of drop shippers. They are designed and have a lot of tools that allow people to have a storefront in which they source materials from other places, and they never have to physically carry the inventory. It stays with the artist, and then when an order comes in, the artist ships it directly to the client. And so you're really just a facilitator in the middle. So that seems to be a heavy part of what Shopify is, but they also have full service for individual and unique products. I don't think that they are geared towards a specific art or a handmade stance the way Etsy is, for example, or Amazon Handmade is, for example. They will let you sell absolutely anything. As far as getting on Etsy, I mean, I'm signed into Etsy every day, either looking at my stats, looking at my marketing. I list, kind of depends on when stuff comes in, but I really do try and get several listings a week up so that it's constantly kind of rotating. I've been super active on there with the estate pieces for about 9 months now. And all the accounts that I've read say that really the first year is the most important, and to get yourself established in your keywords and your search terms and things. So I have noticed that the traffic, unpaid, spontaneous traffic it just increases the more I'm in there and the more I'm working on it, the longer I stay. And the same with eBay. Really, ideally, like going to work, you'd be working on those storefronts daily. I can't do that, but I am in there probably 3 to 5 times a week. I don't have the chat window up, so I'm relying on.
Yeah, I'm monitoring it.
Yeah, on Elizabeth to monitor there.
Any of the people that are not on camera, maybe that are joining us by phone, or if you want to unmute your microphone and ask a question, you're welcome to do that.
So Penny, I saw your comment over on the chat, and I think you should be able to take your GoDaddy site and add the store option, which I like because when I create a product on my website, then all I have to do is click import it to Etsy, and it gives me a whole template. I go in and tweak a few things, and then it sends it straight to Etsy. Then if something sells on my website, it gets taken out of stock on Etsy. Sells on Etsy, it gets taken out of stock on my website. So I let those two talk, and that's why you have to look at what your integrations are and what they are available for each set of platforms that you want to work on. And if you decide that you only have the bandwidth to work on, say, one platform, then choose your own site with one integration so that the work you're doing can go to 2 places. But don't try, I'm trying everything because I want to run it as testing. I want to try it for Hunt Country. And that's the space I'm kind of in right now where I'm experimenting with this stuff. So yeah, I've got Facebook store with buyable Instagram posts and Etsy and eBay and Pinterest and and everything because I want to see where it all falls out. Now I'm not going to go to Amazon Handmade. Like I said, we ruled that out. I'm not going to do Shopify. I already have a host. I already have a site. But I think those integrations are just really helpful. And if you already have GoDaddy, do it. You already have GoDaddy, you already have Etsy. Make them talk to each other so you only have to do the work once.
All right, I'm just going to do a quick down the row, just give everybody a chance to speak up if anybody has a question. So starting with Asem, did you have a question? You just have to unmute. You just have to unmute your microphone.
So my question is, how do you handle all of it? You need to sit on the bench and do your stuff. And what is, the balance? Because sometimes I sit on the bench and 8 hours and I forget everything. And it's like couple days I don't go to Etsy page or anywhere else.
I mean, I think if any of us had the real answer to that, we could bottle it and be millionaires. Everybody's balance is going to be different. I am lucky in that the 2 businesses that I do this for, I actually don't sit at the bench. My husband makes everything. So he makes, I market. And if you can outsource any of that, it is hugely helpful. But that's really not the case for everyone. I think you have to just get disciplined about saying, I'm going to get up in the morning, with my coffee, I'm going to sit down, when I check my email, I'm going to get in and I'm going to get one thing listed. And then if you do that, one listing every day, and we will touch on this in the social media too. I don't personally enjoy social media. I enjoy what it does for my business, but I don't personally enjoy it. I think it's boring and time consuming, but I really enjoy what it does for my business. So you have to find the balance and the tools like your integrations that'll let you do one thing and have it posted to multiple places so that you are getting the most bang for your buck time-wise. And if you miss a day, don't beat yourself up. I have 3 kids under 4. I don't do everything every day that I should. I mean, knowing that I should be updating every day, I should be posting every day, I should be posting to Facebook 3 times a day. Yeah, that's not getting done. But you understand the best practice, and then you figure out where your tolerance is and where your strengths really are, and then you hit that running. And if you can if you can change it and move further into it in the future, you do. Otherwise, you just do what you can and you do it really well. And you don't worry about all the other stuff that you're not getting done. Easier said than done. We're all stuck at home right now thinking about all the things that we should be doing that we're not, and having mini nervous breakdowns about it. Really, that's just me having mini nervous breakdowns about all the things I'm supposed to get done. But I think that balance is just something you have to look at your day and say, I'm going to create these hours and I'm going to market these hours. Or these are my marketing goals per day. These are my marketing goals per week. So when everything's normal and I have childcare, I set one of those days aside when someone else is taking care of my children and the store is closed. And I come down here and sit here all by myself in the dark, and I do like a whole week's worth of posting, because that's the day I have to do it. And I don't try and do it every single day, but I've blocked off a specific amount of time to dedicate to that work. And that's the only way that I can manage it.
Okay, I just want to make sure we have time for everybody's questions. Christine, did you have anything else you needed to ask?
I love you too, Penny.
All right, thanks, Penny.
Thanks, Penny.
Let's see.
Thank you, Dora. I think it'll be really interesting next week to talk marketing too. It's a lot of the same concepts. So that'll be fun.
Jessica Wilson's on. Did you have anything you wanted to ask? You could type. It looks like maybe Libby had a question.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that's it. It's a little after 3 anyway. So, yep. Carolyn, thank you from everybody. Thank you so much for presenting today, and hopefully you all join us again next week for session 2. So, yep. Have a great day, everybody. Do some art.
All that. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so